Hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone is enjoying their time of tabernacles, Feast of Tabernacles, whatever you refer to it as, you know, the time when you build your booths or tabernacles outside and stay in them. I've not done it yet. I'm still studying and learning how to do Yahweh's feast and even when to keep Yahweh's feast. Refer back to my video about the Matzeroth. I'll link it in the description. But what I'm here to talk about now is war. And I don't advocate for war, but I certainly don't believe that we should be afraid of it or shy away from it. And by afraid of it, I'm not talking about people shouldn't be afraid. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as long as we're fighting on the side of righteousness, you know, as long as we're doing it in Yahweh's will, we shouldn't be afraid of it. And, you know, at the risk of this being slightly off subject, the principle should stand on its own. I'm very tender-hearted and squeamish, so I have a problem with killing animals and whatnot. I don't mind eating them, I can't do it. Killing them, I can't do it. And one of the instructions for Passover is you're actually supposed to keep the lamb in the house for 3 days, I think it is, with you before you kill it, you know, the Passover lamb. And I understand the reason for those instructions. I do. And they're very valid, and you know, people that can do it should do it. I'm just too squeamish to do it, and I truly and sincerely hope that that will not be counted against me, because I don't and can't kill animals, you know, and I have hit animals with my vehicle. You know, I've only hit and killed one deer, but you know, I've hit a few birds, and you hit bugs all the time, which I don't have too much trouble killing mosquitoes and gnats and ticks and, you know, biting bugs. I don't know why I lack compassion for them. Well, I don't really lack compassion for them. It's just kind of a, you know, them or me type of situation, I guess. But anyway, back on to talking about war. You know, I think, or I hope that I have sufficiently explained my position about we shouldn't be afraid of it and we shouldn't shy away from it. Yes, we should effort to avoid it if reasonably possible, but if avoiding it is going to violate Yahweh's will, then no, we shouldn't strive to avoid it. All that being said, I think that we do war wrong. And I know there are a lot of people that believe that there are hidden agendas in the reasons that we go to war. And there probably are. But Scripture tells us that we can't know someone else's mind, we can't know someone else's heart, we can't know their intentions, or anything like that. The only thing we can know about other people is what we see them do. And yes, a lot of times their actions reveal their mind and their heart and their intention. For example, you know, there's Desert Storm and Desert Shield and all those conflicts that we got into when the Bushes were in office. And it's been said that the reason we engaged in those conflicts is because of the Bush's ties to big oil, and that the U.S. was trying to maintain control of the Kuwaiti oil fields or something other like that. Well, to my understanding, the reason we were over there is because of Saddam Hussein and his regime, and then after him was Osama bin Laden, and there's always another evil leader to pop up. And I'm not even here to talk about the politics or the reasons behind going or anything like that, other than to say, I believe myself, the biggest reasons that we were over there is because of the oppression of the people by the government or regime, you know, those in authority at the time. So it's not wrong to defend the weak. It's just not. And if that's the reason that we're going, then we should go and do it. But that's just the thing. We should do it and get it done, get it over with, be done with it, go ahead and put a stop to it. Now, there is biblical precedent to support what I just said. And I'll go into some more detail and explain a little better. I've just recently been listening to the book of Joshua. I don't remember what chapter, but I can tell you. This isn't the only chapter. It's chapter 13. Alright? So the book of Joshua, chapter 13. So Joshua is sent, and he's told how many of the people to take with him. A lot of times he's told how many to take from each tribe, and you know, their ages and stuff like that, to war against the nations that are Yahweh's enemy, right? Now, Yahweh explains to Joshua, when you go in, destroy everybody and everything. Take Jericho, for example. I think it's Jericho. When they were told, you know, 6 days, walk around it and be silent. You know, walk around it one time a day for 6 days and be silent. And then on the 7th day, walk around it 7 times. And, you know, at whatever time they were supposed to shout and sound the trumpets and whatnot. And when they did that, Jericho, the city walls collapsed. And they were told not to take anything. They were told to kill everything. The only things that they were supposed to take were supposed to be the silver and the gold and the iron. And all of that was to go into the temple treasury. You know, it was all claimed by Yahweh. But everything else was supposed to be done, you know, destroyed. I don't remember if they were supposed to leave it, or you know, if they were supposed to pile it up and burn it. I don't remember all the details exactly. But the point is when they went to war, they decimated their enemy in a short period of time. They didn't spend a lot of extra time. Well, we need to negotiate, and well, we've shown these people that we're stronger than they are, so now we need to offer them mercy and see if they want to sign a treaty with us and all of that stuff. No, that's not what happened. You know, they went in and utterly decimated, because when, was it Ammon, I think? You know, he found like 50 shekels of silver and you know, gold that 50 shekels weight or something like that, and he found some kind of tapestry or cloak or something other like that, and you know, in the city, and they were told not to mess with any of it, to leave it all. Well, the next battle that they get into, the enemy whoops Israel. You know, it was what, 3,000 were sent, and I think 36 of them got killed before they got away. And when Joshua prayed about it, he found out that someone took something from the last place. And he was instructed how to go about finding out who it was that took it and what to do when they found who took it. You know, and literally the fella that took it, him and his family, because I believe his family was punished because they were accessories after the fact, or they were complicit with it. You know, to be sure, he didn't just take it and not tell any of his family. You know, certainly he took it and told them, and then by them not reporting him, they became guilty as well. And I've had people ask me, well, if this one fella took it, then why did everybody get put to death? Well, they all got put to death because they were all accessories after the fact. You know, that's actually a part of American law as well. You know, a man goes and robs a bank, he comes home and tells, you know, a buddy of his, and the buddy helps him hide what he stole. The investigation is all over and everything. They break the money out and go spending crazy, and then he gets caught. Well, then the authorities find out that his buddy was involved with it and had direct knowledge of it and all of that stuff. Well, guess what? His buddy goes to prison too. You know, that's in the law. So anyway, after Joshua goes through this process and finds out who done it, you know, they stone him. They carry him and his family to a place and they stone him and string him up on a tree, I think it says, and that's so that the people can see the penalty for disobedience. You know, Yahweh's making his point. You know, this ain't just lip service. I'm telling you beforehand what's going to happen if you disobey. And they disobeyed, and what was told happened. So anyway, after all that was done, you know, they were put to death in the valley, and him and all his possessions were burned, and then they heaped stones up on him. And I don't remember what they call the valley now, or what it's called in Scripture. But after all that's done, then Joshua comes up with a plan. You know, all right, here's the military. I want to divide the military. You guys go the long way around and go hide, and we're going to come up on this side and attack them. And they do. So the army of the place that started whooping them to start with comes out. Well, the half of the army that attacked takes off running. You know, they're in a full retreat, you know, so that the army of the enemies pursues after them. And then what happens? The other half of the army comes in and sets the city on fire and catches the enemy in between them. And then what happened? Israel utterly decimated the enemy, right? They just went on and wiped them out. Done with it. That way you don't have to worry about retaliation, terrorism, or anything like that. And that's part of the reason that the United States is dealing with so much terrorism right now, because we didn't go over there and just put an end to it. If war can be avoided, yes, avoid it. But when you go to war, an equal response, and I don't remember what the term is, I'll try to look it up and put it in the description under the video. But there's this principle in politics and in war about an equal response, or appropriate response, or something other like that. Okay, well, let me tell you a little secret. The appropriate response is to bring all the force to bear that is necessary to wipe the enemy out and be done with them. Vietnam War, the Korean War, I know that there would have been a lot of civilian casualties. Well, guess what? In Scripture, there were a lot of civilian casualties because of guilt by association. You're part of the nation. If you don't want to be there, you find a way out. If you don't seek a way out, then you're an accessory. Whether you actively fight or not, your mere presence is a support against, or not against, but for the government that you live under. Now, This country, the United States, right now is divided. We have been for a long, long time. It didn't just start with Obama. It amplified under Obama, and it is now amplifying even more under Trump. Obama fostered the division. Trump is trying to bring both sides together. So that same guilty by association doesn't apply here. Alright? The ones in North Vietnam or North Korea who didn't want to be under communist rule could very easily have snuck out. Because that's actually how a lot of spies got into the free people's camps, is they pretended to be defectors. They wanted to live, they didn't want to live under the communist rule, allegedly, so they snuck in, or, you know, the political asylum or whatever. Meanwhile, they were sending information back to their commie buddies the whole time. And so, you know, I understand that there's vetting problems and stuff like that, and if there's no way to actually track their real history, you know, of course some spies are going to slip through. You deal with them as you find them. If you don't want to live under that communist party or whatever, or under evil oppression, get out. Because the appropriate military response is to go in and decimate everything. And I'm not talking about nuking it all so it's uninhabitable and toxic and poison and stuff like that. I'm not a warmonger. I don't advocate violence. But something else to bear in mind when it comes to this is, what does Scripture tell us is going to happen when Yeshua comes back? Okay, for starters, Yeshua is already going to have separated his people out. You know, because Scripture says there's a place prepared in the wilderness where the virgin or whatever, however it says it goes for 3.5 years. Which I actually talk about that a little bit in my video, how long is a biblical year, I think. I'll link that in the description below as well. So, anyway, Yeshua, when he comes back, is going to defeat the armies of the earth who have gathered against Israel with the sword of his mouth. And it says that the blood in the valley is going to be to the horses' bridles. So it's going to be 3 or 4 foot deep, the blood. That does not sound like, well, I'm just going to respond with equal amount of force. No, that is overwhelming victory. That's how war should be fought. You know, and I know there are a lot of people who are going to want to argue about this and disagree, and, you know, I'm going to lose Facebook friends probably and stuff like that. And bear in mind, I'm not saying that we shouldn't protect the helpless. In fact, I'm saying exactly the opposite of that. We should protect the helpless by any moral means necessary. When you become complicit with and start advocating for evil, whether you have taken up arms against the righteous or not, you're still guilty. That's what Scripture says. So, there is no middle ground. Either you're Yahweh's or you're Lucifer's. There's nowhere in between. If you are Yahweh's child, you will obey his instructions as laid out in the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. If you are not Yahweh's child, it will be evident. But anyway, that's off topic. So the way to win war is to win it. You know, if you already know that they've got a lot of ground troops on the ground, and you know that you're going to have a high casualty rate if you send in ground troops, don't send in ground troops. Send a B-52 over there to drop bombs on all the enemy strongholds. But anyway, apologies if I've offended anyone. I put it to you that you need to go and study out these biblical principles on your own. And you'll find more of it in the book of Joshua than anywhere else. So, that being said, remember Acts chapter 17, verses 10 and 11, and 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, both of which tell you to study it out for yourself. And also, I put to you Proverbs chapter 18:13 says that he that answereth a matter before he heareth it is shame and folly unto him. So, for those who've read the title of this video, decided that it was against Scripture and stuff like that, they haven't heard it, they have violated that principle in Scripture. They decided that something was wrong and evil, and they don't even know what's being said. So, all that being said, I hope to see all of you in the kingdom of heaven. Yahweh bless.